I could relate to every word because it's just one introvert speaking to another introvert.
I was so happy to find out that you were an introvert. Believe me, half my anxiety went down.
So, at the core of this book, human connection.
Yeah.
I mean, somewhere you're trying to show how important it is, and it need not be just transactional as it has become in many ways,
Yeah.
How can we make human connections more real, more engaging? Is there a way we can put the system upside down?
I don't know if it's something about putting a system upside down, but I personally believe that we have reached a stage where we forget how to actually talk to each other. And so often, I mean, we really don't know how to actually have a face-to-face interaction. In fact, when I came here, I think I just was so amazed to meet somebody who just took me out to a restaurant just outside, and we actually had a lovely conversation. So can we actually have connections? I think so, but I think we have kind of lost a little bit of the connection, a little bit of the art of connecting during COVID. I think it's something that we need to reconnect with ourselves first.
You also mentioned kindness, and you said, of course, I mean, we talk about being kind. If we talk about business and kindness, do you think it has been under-leveraged inside the business corridors, inside those swanky offices? We have never used enough kindness to show that it can deliver business results, or it does not deliver business results?
I think that kindness is sometimes used more as CSR, and corporates sometimes tend to just kind wash it. It's a bit like greenwashing, or it's a bit like other kinds of washing, whatever exists. But I'm yet to find businesses that truly place an emphasis on kindness. I think we have seen so many layoffs, especially over the last few weeks or something, and a lot of the corporates have not exactly acted with empathy or compassion many times. Some have, but some haven't. And I think that's where I come back to saying that a business that builds relationships is probably going to last far longer than businesses that are just here to solve and disrupt a market. And that's something that I think is worth looking into.
So what does, you also do a lot of work to promote health awareness, especially, awareness, emotional
mental
wellness,
yeah.
mental healthness. We've seen a lot of people with an external, perception
Yeah.
that, they're successful, happy. What do emotionally perturbed people look like? Do they look like really like how the imagery has been, that they would be sitting and, and not talking to anyone, or not necessarily the introvert ones, but otherwise, or normal people who are happy, smiling, can they be suffering from this? What is your experience been watching and doing work with people who are emotionally unstable, or maybe mentally they need some kind of help,
I think a lot of us need some kind of help. I mean, I was just talking to you, and it looks like I'm very happy and smiling here, but honestly, my Garmin just gave me an alert just now that my heart rate is too high. So, I mean, it's something that we all can do a lot with, and I have personally observed that when it comes to mental wellness, we tend to push things under the carpet. We are not really having the kind of conversations that we need to say. I am yet to meet somebody who says, hey, I'm so cool, I'm going to a therapist. In fact, people just say, I'm so cool, I'm going for kickboxing. But the minute I say I see a therapist, people just tend to think there's something wrong with me. And there shouldn't be. I think it's just a way of working on yourself, just the same way you work on your physical health as well, right? So I personally think that we are not there yet. There's a lot of stigma, and we don't really have the kind of conversations that we need to have. And especially, I don't know about you, but I really don't do much of social media apart from LinkedIn. And I've seen especially how much of a facade we need to have on any kind of social media. I think it's, you feel lost when you look at somebody who seems to be having the greatest of lives on social media, but internally probably you think, why is everybody having the time of their life, but I seem to be struggling. And unfortunately, social media doesn't allow us the space to just be vulnerable and to say that I am not in a good space. It's simply not possible to do that.
Right. We also have another problem, like we are surrounded by gadgets. Even if you are honest about building human connect, the way our society functions today is very different. We'll all be sitting together on our mobiles. Is there a way we can have the devices and still build that human connect? I mean, what is your suggestion? How can we enable that?
I have not been very gadget friendly, I must say. Like I told you during our conversation before as well, I was actually not on WhatsApp. I was off a lot of social media platforms, and it's only recently that I realized that there's a way to use this, and the way is not to just shun it, but the way is to actually just embrace what technology can give you. So for me, I personally believe we can use the gadgets, we can use the devices, we can use the platforms, but be aware of its potential for addiction, be aware of its potential for conflict. I mean, troll is a word that growing up I thought is something to do with goblins. I did not know that trolling is something that you actually do in a very active way on Twitter or somewhere else. But can we actually utilize social media again in a kind way? Yes. We have seen that. We have seen that during all these waves of COVID and even otherwise, where we've seen how Twitter was utilized, how social media was utilized to help each other. We've seen that in crowdfunding. We've seen that in the way we are able to connect with, say, somebody from school. And it's because of social media that I'm here. And I had a wonderful conversation with somebody just now. And I do not think that would have been possible without social media. So social media has brought us closer. But again, I think it depends on the way you utilize it, right? And if we are careful with it, I think it offers us so much of opportunity, but are we capable also of resisting the trolling? I'm not too sure. I know a lot of people who are mentally down when they get on social media, when they get on, say on Instagram, or when they're trolled, and it's pretty much damaging for your emotional well-being. And we got to kind of balance it out and see, okay, can I utilize these devices? Can I use WhatsApp well without being addicted to it? Can I actually communicate in a respectful manner? Can I be kind on social media? I think these are questions that I wonder. I don't have an answer, but I think it's possible. Definitely there's a lot of potential for social media and devices that we use.
Well, so for an introvert, is it always easier to write a book? Because that is what you want to talk to. That's the platform. You want to vent all your thoughts. So do you think it was easier for you to write this book? What was the journey like?
Definitely easier than being here. So I think it's like, yes, writing a book, writing anything is way easier than actually talking about it, right? So for me, my favorite time is when I'm just sitting in front of my laptop, I'm just curled up in a sofa and I'm just reading by myself. So I'm a bit of a lonely cat that way. But I think writing at some level helps me because we all need to connect, we all need to speak, we all need to express something. So if some people are able to express by talking to somebody, they can just walk up to anybody here and just say, hey, hi, how are you, what's up? I can't do that. But because I can't do that, but I still have this need to express myself, I would probably just want to express myself through words. And words are what have given me meaning and joy and sustenance for a long time. I mean, I read a lot. So that reading has again helped me. So I feel like I'm getting to know so many people, so many different worlds just through the books that I read. And when I write, I feel like, as I said during my little speech as well, that I write for myself primarily. I write to kind of bring what's in my head outside. And when I do that, it feels like life is a little lighter. It feels like there is so much more space inside my head and it's not all crammed up and claustrophobic. And there's another benefit that when I actually do write, a lot of people benefit from it as well. Like for some reason, people find their story through your stories as well. And in that way, again, it goes back to the same thing. You're fostering a connection. You think that you're writing in a very personal way, but you're actually writing for yourself and you're developing a relationship with the reader. So that helps. It's very therapeutic to write. I think it's fantastic to even just journal.
Let me ask you one more question before I open up this forum.
Yeah.
Emotional abuse is also something, you work on.
Yeah.
What does emotional abuse in a corporate world look like? I mean, which people have normalized, if you could just...
Oh, yes, this is like one of my favorite topics. I could go on for longer than that, but I think in the
Okay, can we have a little bit of silence on that side? Sorry, at the back end here.
yeah, so I think in the corporate world, I think emotional abuse can be, well, the way you interact with, we all have this thing called toxic politics, right? We have toxicity in terms of the way our people who are managers treat us. And there's a lot of passive aggressive behavior that gets passed under when it comes to corporates. People lack empathy. And for me, firing somebody with no intimation is again some sort of emotional distress, right? It's very distressing to just wake up and find that access to your entire account is blocked. Again, that does not show the corporate in a very good light. And for me, I think emotional abuse can come across in the way people tend to form cliques, they tend to form groups, they tend to isolate a person. For example, somebody like me who's an introvert might not get along well with a lot of people, but not everybody understands that. So where do you fit in? Where do you go? For example, I may not want to go to an after hours party. I might just want to be at home, but you're forced to, you're pushed along, because unless you participate, unless you're part of this whole group and team bonding sessions, you're just not there. You're not performing as a team member. So there's a whole, I think, layer when it comes to emotional abuse, when it comes to corporate wellness. And I think that primarily comes because we're just not trained to talk to people enough. We're not trained to actually communicate. We're not trained to actually respond with empathy and kindness.
All right, any questions? All right, please. In the front, yeah. Can we have the mic?
Yeah, hi Smitha, very
Hi.
good evening. So my question for the day would be like, how do we deal with depression and anxiety? So as to gain the mental stability, just in the case when a person is not even comfortable to share the feelings and the past experiences with
Yeah.
others.
Yeah, I completely empathize. I think it's very difficult to talk about something that one is going through at an emotional level. And that all comes from the fact that we are trained to show this facade of wellness. We are trained to show that I am great, I am doing supremely well. I can honestly tell you there was a friend who kept posting photos on Facebook about her fiance. And I thought, okay, yeah, what happened? When is the wedding? And then she said, oh, we broke up 3 months ago. But Facebook is updated constantly. She's just so scared to show that something did not go right. So I completely get you when you say that it's not difficult to talk. I mean, it's not easy to talk about depression or anxiety, but we must make a start. And the reason I say that is because there's nothing wrong. You don't have to deal with it. You don't have to get over it. You just move through it. I mean, if somebody says, I broke my leg, you will tell that to the whole world, you broke my leg. But we somehow cannot tell somebody, I'm feeling a bit down. Can you help me? But I think if we talk about it, if people understand that this is pretty much normal and this is a very humane part of living, and that our emotions constitute who we are, and we can't just take them out and function like robots at the workplace or college, I think we'll make a start. And the start is to have that conversation, even though it is difficult. Believe me, I've done a lot of conversations which I found very difficult, and it all started with me, in the sense that I found it difficult to tell myself that I have anxiety or that I am an introvert. But I realized that these labels don't define you, and none of this actually defines you. It's just a part of you.
Thank you for answering the question.
Thanks. I hope I did answer it.
Okay, let me ask the final question. We have a, the social order that we have, especially let me talk about men, who are supposed to not cry, not accept their weak. It must be difficult in the Indian context. Have you come with stories like that? Also, when it comes to talking about your emotional wellness in our society, the Indian context, are we moving towards more being expressive on this? Is it changing?
I would to believe it's changing, or at least that's what I think I'm hoping for. I've never been particularly optimistic, but I'm really trying to believe that things are changing. There is a lot of movement around men's mental health as well, and I think I see that in a couple of the movies that have been released recently. in some of the conversations that I've seen in those movies as well. So I'm confident that things are changing, but I'm not too sure if this change is going to happen soon enough for all of us. But as I always come around to saying, I think when we start to focus on relationships, a lot of things actually fall into place. And when we focus on our mental well-being just as much as we focus on the physical well-being, I think, again, we enhance those relationships. And it comes down to what I told, that everything that we do hinges on the kind of relationships we build, the relationships I have with my customer, the relationships I have with myself, and the relationships I have with friends and family. They all count. So, and none of them would make any sense if you're not actually performing emotionally well.
Absolutely. So a round of applause for the author. And let's not forget that emotional wellness is relevant for all platforms, all conversations. And thank you, Devika, for adding this session here, much needed in the corporate world. Thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much.